Welcome to Sports Talk Live Buffalo Plus. I'm Sports Director John Scott. Paul Hamilton, our NHL and Sabres insider here. Vic Carucci also will be joining us to talk about some big moves around the NFL as well as Bills' mandatory minicamp getting underway next week. But we are starting, as we have for quite some time at this point, Paul. You've been a first-liner for a long time.
Since the end of April.
Yeah, we're going to be talking hockey, and the number one talking point, certainly here in Western New York, the results of the Jack Adams Award going to John Cooper of Tampa Bay and not the Buffalo Sabres' Lindy Ruff. Here is how the voting actually breaking down. You can see Ruff falling short by just 3 points. If you see at the top, first place votes worth 5, second place votes worth 3 points, and a third place vote is worth 1. Paul, at 6 last night, then again at 11. Once this came out, I gave my feelings on all of this. It is certainly a hot topic. I'm sure you've been asked a ton about it in the past 24 hours because I already kind of blew off the steam yesterday with my thoughts on this. The floor is yours. Let's just start looking at the actual voting itself on Cooper winning over Lindy Ruff.
Well, I could quickly find 3 that I would take before Cooper: Ruff, Muse, and St. Louis before right off the bat. And it simply became a popularity. John Cooper is very, very popular amongst the network people, TSN, Sportsnet, ESPN, TNT, extremely. I mean, he takes care of them, and he does whatever they need. He's actually on with them sometimes, when Tampa Bay isn't playing. So there was a campaign within the Broadcast Association to get him the award. It's just simple as that. I know that as a fact. There was a campaign to get him the award because he had never won it before. Probably deserved it at some other times, but never won it. So the campaign was on, and he won it. He just barely won, but he won.
There are so many directions here. When you look at the voting, there's 99 voters for this award. Over 30 of them did not have Lindy Ruff in their top 3, Paul. You could talk about a campaign for Cooper, but how in the world can you justify what the Sabres did with Lindy Ruff as their head coach and not even believe it was a top 3 coaching job in the league?
And the Sabres improved by 30 points. Tampa Bay improved by 4. Tampa Bay blew an 8-point lead. They were in first place by 8 points. At the end of the year, starting in February, Tampa Bay got 2 out of 8 points against the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres got 7 out of 8 to be able to catch Tampa Bay.
And pass
them. On December 9th, Tampa Bay was 1 point out of first place in the Atlantic Division. The Sabres were in last place in the Eastern Conference and third last place in the National Hockey League on December 9th. And even if you want to go with Muse, who deserves it more than Cooper does, he improved the Penguins by 18 points. And I believe got the playoffs, but I think for the first time in 4 years, doing it off the top of my head, but I believe that's correct. So, he would deserve it a lot more. To me, it was between Ruff and Muse. Cooper wasn't even in my conversation. But again, that's who they wanted. They were going to make sure he got it, and then he got it.
So where do things go from here? Obviously, it's not the writers who pretty much determine every other award in there. They had Kucherov. They had Vasilevsky. I've seen guys like Greg Wyshynski, who is a Buffalo guy, who said things of, well, they had a lot of injuries, and that's why he deserved it. But what are the repercussions here? How do you think people react outside of Buffalo? Because obviously it's a hot topic because this is their guy. It's not like people are going to lose their votes or anything, but where does it go from here?
That's what people who are on this campaign, it's like, well, defensively, they lost 3 or 4 of their defensemen, and they still were very good defensively. Yeah, that's great, but you still blew an 8-point lead for first place. You didn't win anything. Now, to be fair, the voting is done before the playoffs start, but still, they got eliminated in the first round for the 4th straight year. Now, again, the voting was already done by them, but it's just another nail in the coffin, so to speak. That not 4 straight years now, they've been eliminated in the first round. Lindy Ruff not only got Buffalo to the second round, but was an overtime Game 7 goal from getting them to the Eastern Conference Final.
It should be to no surprise that these NHL Broadcasters Association are comprised by play-by-play, studio analysts, color commentators around the league, network, and regional levels. So the ESPN crew who could not pronounce Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, those are the people who's determining who.
And people are saying, well, you two are broadcasters. Didn't you vote? No, we're reporters.
We
are reporters, even though we are in the broadcast medium.
All right, a far more rational voting of a postseason award by the NHL was the Norris Trophy. Zach Werenski of Columbus is the one who earns the Norris Trophy. Rasmus Dahlin finishing third. Career year for Dahlin, finally elevating into a level that everyone assumed he would be when he was the first overall pick way back when. How do you look at how that shook out and just, maybe a stepping stone for Dahlin?
I think it was about right. I mean, Makar, what I liked for once, the top three guys were both good at both ends of the ice. It wasn't just the guy with the most points, like when Carlson wins it. He's awful in the defensive zone, but he's a great offensive player. All three defensemen are very good in both ends of the ice, which I liked seeing. In Rasmus Dahlin's case, using his words, in the beginning of the year, he was awful. And that's what he said. He just wasn't himself. Now we know why. There was a very, very good reason why, because of his fiance, had a heart transplant and almost passed away. So it's just amazing that he was even playing hockey at all. But, using his words, they said his beginning of the season, until probably the Detroit game when he came back and everything was okay and he knew everything was okay and had a smile on his face and was a different person, he was having problems. So I think that didn't help him, because it is, and I know this is being, cold-hearted, so to speak, but it's what you've done for the whole season. And that's where I think Werenski and Makar went ahead of him.
And now we move ahead to the Stanley Cup Final. Really nice Game 1 between Vegas and Carolina. The Golden Knights ultimately taking it. Game 2 is later on tonight. What were some takeaways from Game 1?
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't want to. How do I want to put this? I don't want to say I wasn't expecting Vegas to be able to come back from that. But usually, when Carolina gets a lead right off the bat, and the way their goaltending had been with Freddie Anderson, I guess I wasn't expecting that Vegas was going to get behind 2-0 and take a 3-2 lead, and then get tied and then win it anyway in Carolina. It's not an easy play. Now, Anderson wasn't as good in Game 1 as he has been throughout the playoffs. The only reason Carolina, in my opinion, hasn't won a cup is their goaltending throughout. They really haven't even been able to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. They've always had a good team, but their goaltending has let them down. In one game, their goaltending was not as good as it had been, but we're only talking about one game here. Anderson has been very good throughout.
We'll see what happens tonight in Game 2. Finally, NHL Combine back in Buffalo this week. And Paul, it's the latest example, as the Sabres have turned things around into the upper echelon, had such a great season, of a change of approaching so many of these things, where they're picking in the 20s now, and you don't really know who even to pinpoint to look at with all these prospects in town.
And that's the thing. We get to talk to them tomorrow and then again on Saturday when they're doing the testing. But they have a first-round pick, and they don't draft again until the 4th round because of trades that they have made, whether it's Norris or Carrick. That's what took care of their 2nd and 3rd round picks. So even with that in mind, unless there's some trades made, which with Jarmo Kekalainen, there probably will be, but we don't know right now. Right now, we're talking about a 1st-round pick, and then you have to wait until the 4th round.
Yeah, it's interesting here. And who knows what these selections we made with bigger, possibly grander trades down the line. If maybe you don't want to part with a couple of the top prospects in the organization, maybe a team will take your first off your hands. We'll see. Still always cool that the focal point this time of year, and then this year with the draft coming at the end of June, it's really cool that it's truly NHL Central for the entire league right here in Buffalo. All right, we're going to put a pause on hockey talk for now and shift gears to football. Big-time trades earlier in the week across the league with some ramifications for the Bills. Vic Carucci joining me to discuss that next here on Sports Talk Live Plus. Welcome back here to Sports Talk Live Plus. Vic Carucci, our NFL and Bills insider, joining us now as we shift gears over to football. And Slowly but surely, when it comes to trades, the NFL getting a little closer to some of the other professional leagues with a lot more larger movement happening, not just at the deadline, but throughout the offseason. And June 1st, I think, is going to be maybe the next pivot point where the league starts to have a lot more action. And boy, did they this past Monday, because there were multiple trades. One we saw coming, but eventually finally becoming official. Patriots acquiring A.J. Brown from the Eagles for a 2028 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. We got into this a little bit, but briefly at the end of Sports Talk Live on Monday night, so I wanted to give us some more time. Let's speak directly about the impact New England, who was better than the Bills in the division this past year, what sort of an impact does it have on them getting A.J. Brown?
Well, I think New England became a better team with Brown there. What does that mean relative to the Bills? I'm not necessarily saying that they have widened any kind of gap, because I don't know that there is a gap, frankly. I think these two teams are pretty even, and I think last year demonstrated as much, even though New England won the division. But I will say that it's still going to be a dogfight between the Bills and the Patriots to try to win this division. I don't know what to expect from the Jets or Miami. A lot of changeover there. There's changeover pretty much throughout the division. But relative to the Patriots specifically, you know, you look at what A.J. Brown has done and what he's done against the Bills in an Eagle uniform, and what I think he can do with Drake May throwing him the football, that kind of arm and talent and awareness and vision. And Drake May, just another year along, comes off a Super Bowl season, you know, and of course, not the greatest Super Bowl, but for him, I think it's a developmental. I think there's a hardening to that of his, just the outer shell of handling big-time pressure and situation. And then there's Josh McDaniels, who I think can do a lot with number one over there.
I mean, Drake May finished as the runner-up as most valuable player, with Stephon Diggs as his best receiving target. Right. You got Mac Hollins in there, and now it's A.J. Brown. Don't forget Romeo Doubs also in the mix. So New England doing a very good job at continuing to support and surround their young quarterback with some very good talent. That, amazingly enough, was kind of an afterthought of the trade on Monday, because the big doozy we did not see coming was the Browns trading Myles Garrett to the Rams for Jared Verse, a first-round pick in 2027, second-round pick in 2028, and a third-round pick in 2029. There's two ways to this, Vic. There's number one, just wow, Myles Garrett finally got traded. We've been talking about that for a year. But I also think more locally and with the Bills fans, it's another big move, especially at a position that the Bills are still chasing, and that's pass rusher, that they were not able, Brandon Beane, to provide a package that could land a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key to that deal happening, and let's add to this, it did surprise a lot of folks the way it came together or came out. But the background we're hearing is that they were conversations between the Rams and the Browns going back to 2022. I mean, they wanted this guy, and they kept coming back to the well. And finally, the Browns relented. Not entirely sure that it made sense for them. But the Jared Verse piece to this is the key, and that is a piece the Bills didn't have to offer. So I would say that was a big separation point. If there are those saying, why didn't Brandon Beane pull this off?
Maybe they would have said, well, just find it. Like, is Greg Rousseau comparable to Jared Verse? Their contracts aren't, the production, whatever you may say. But I think that's where fans, they believe, because outside of the Stephon Diggs trade, giving up a first-round pick, or maybe signing Von Miller, they feel he's done he's done good things. He's filled the roster, but he has failed to, for lack of a better term, push all the chips in.
Okay, well, let's talk about Les Snead, the Rams GM, and Brandon Beane. Les Snead famously or infamously in the T-shirts said it. I'll just say F them picks, right? I'm okay with that. I hope it didn't get us in trouble. But that was the whole thing about draft picks, and that you build your team, and you do it through veterans and acquisitions, and it's a formula that he's won a Super Bowl with, or they've won a Super Bowl with. You've got an outstanding coach in Sean McVay. A lot of trust in that he'll make it work, even if when you don't have draft picks coming through, you're taking a risk. There's no question about it. Now you go to Brandon Beane. He believes in those picks. I'll use the L word, love them picks. He'd wear those T-shirts because he loves them. He wants to accumulate more of them when he can and if he can, and he does. And he believes you build your team accordingly. And I also think he believes firmly you got Josh Allen in place. You've had him there since you drafted him in 2018. And in terms of this team and this roster, you can continually build that way. The argument will be, yeah, but this Super Bowl window thing that gets a little narrower all the time. Shouldn't you try to accelerate the pace with bringing in a veteran and accomplished player?
Yeah, it's a conversation that I've had in other sports about other teams of this. Do you push all your chips in? Is it worth it to mortgage the future for the now? If maybe you do what New Orleans did, and they didn't make the playoffs for 3, 4, 5 years after winning the Super Bowl, and were not a consistent winner getting to the party of the postseason. I see both sides of it. We'll move on. Here's one thing, though, that I think maybe makes Brandon Beane look a little better. Packers giving Christian Watson, the receiver, a 4-year extension worth $110.5 million, $31 million signing bonus. That's an average of 27.6 annually. DJ Moore set to make 6.7 on the cap this season, then about 29 the 3 seasons after that. In my opinion, I know the ages don't match up completely. I'd take DJ Moore at that number over Christian Watson, and the more wide receiver numbers that come out since the Moore trade, the more comfortable I feel that Beane actually got himself a pretty good deal.
Well, relative to the market, I think he did. Did he get a good deal relative to the player being equal to a number one elsewhere? And I think that's where the question might come in. Is DJ Moore, unquestionably a number one level talent? He is for the Bills, but I don't know that that's saying a lot, right? That's a modified sort of description. Watson and some of the other receivers who've gotten these big deals, that has been consistent with the market for what you see those players being for their teams. And keep in mind, the Bills also had to do some maneuvering. They restructured the Moore deal. $22.2 million of it was converted to signing bonus, right? They added the year, so that cleared, I think, more than almost $18 million in salary cap for this year. So there was some machination going on with a deal that I think came in at $100 million from the Bears.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't think DJ Moore is a true bona fide number one. I think he's more of a fringe. He certainly is an upgrade from that unit for the Bills this season. But again, when I look at the numbers overall, I think the market, the way maybe I viewed it and others viewed it, was a little lower than what it maybe actually is.
And he lost some leverage because the Bears made a clear value judgment and said, you're not our number. I mean, if he's not the Bears number one, he's not in a Bills uniform right now.
100%. All right, Bills done with OTAs. Then next week, they have 3 days scheduled at least of mandatory minicamp next week. We'll be out there.
Yeah.
Last chance before. They're off for actually an extended period of time. They're not doing training camp beginning that until the end of July. As you're out there, Orchard Park, final look before summer break. What are you looking for?
Yeah, well, I'm going out there because I don't want to be fined. That's number one. No, but I want to see just it's not a far from a finished product, but I certainly want to pay attention to obviously some of the newer people there. But more importantly, I just want to see how Joe Brady kind of is running things. He's had now this team in his hands on the field, off the field for several weeks, and I just think you'll get some sense of what the order is going to look like as head coach for him when they get to training camp.
And there have been noticeable differences, nothing like drastic, but just the way the structures of things. Heck, I think I saw they played paintball yesterday, so it's been a little more team building as well. All right, we're going to stick with football, but bring Paul Hamilton back to join Vic and I. The Bills are going to have their ribbon cutting for the new Highmark Stadium coming up. Our thoughts and excitement about the new building next as we wrap up Sports Talk Live Plus. Welcome back here to Sports Talk Live Buffalo Plus. Gang all together as we wrap things up here. The Bills are set to have the ribbon cutting for the new Highmark Stadium June 23rd. Here's some video of it. It's beautiful, guys. Paul, I know you drove past it the other day for OTAs. Vic, you've been around. It's really cool from my perspective at least to be there when they put the first shovels into the ground to see the pits. That was a big joke. And now look at this beautiful stadium that's right there. I can't wait. None of us have actually been in, surprisingly enough. But even looking from the outside, and it's really, really cool. It's exceeding my expectations.
I'm looking forward to the chance to see it from the inside. But every time I look at it, guys, I can't help but juxtapose it with all the time of my life that was spent in the old Highmark, Rich, New Era, whatever it were, Ralph. All those years, because it's a defining part of my life here in Western New York, and seeing that new place open up, and of course the old place being taken apart, it just hits you.
You weren't in the rock pile?
Not as a media cover. Well, actually, the Bisons when I first got here. But as a fan, my first NFL game, my dad took me to the Bills and Rams way back in 1970. I want to say something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of upset I haven't been in there yet. All the times that the media has been through there, I've never known that they're going through, or I would have. So I'm looking forward to this, maybe to get over there and finally to see the place and be able to go through it. So. Didn't the shovels just go in the ground?
It
seems like it was yesterday.
It's crazy. It's really cool. You see houses built in developments, or you see restaurants or whatever it is. To see a stadium literally from start to finish, and we're there week in and week out to see the progress unfold. You're right. It's amazing that the time has flown by, and now they got the great foliage and the landscaping out there. It's truly looking like a stadium that we're now going to spend all of these hours in.
I do get sad looking at them knocking down the old stadium, though.
Yeah, I get melancholy about that for sure. But to your point about how quickly this thing has gone up, guys, think about the manpower. Think about the number and men and women who have been part of the labor team to put this thing together, and how many hours it took to get it done at this pace.
I keep looking through this video, and again, not being in there, and I just think, wow, we're going to be in there, and it's not going to be too much. The first real event's going to be the blue and red scrimmage that they have. That's going to be August 8th. Then they have 2 preseason games, and then of course they start on the road for the regular season, but a Thursday night regular season opener in week number 2.
Amazing.
It's the expectations, and I think you've seen it go up. And we talk so much about the past of the former stadium here. It almost like you see it, but it hasn't hit me that that's where they're going to be playing football games.
Not until you set foot in it. But consider this too: new stadium, new coach, new defense. There's newness all over the place with the Bills.
Now, Paul, when are they going to get the arena together? Come on.
I know it's going to be a while. Well, they said after this stadium is open, he said then they'll start concentrating on the arena.
I think it certainly may help Pete and the team and Terry when you get about a month's extra of revenue from some playoff hockey as well to help pay for some of those
Can't
things.
hurt.
It can. We're all going to be back with Adam Bonini Monday night, Channel 2 for our regularly scheduled edition of Sports Talk Live. More Bills and Sabres talk. Until then, have a great weekend.